Anyway, sorry. Okay, so we've been hinting at the fact that you're bivocational. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Global Partners? Like, what's your job title, and why do you travel so much for Global
Yeah.
Partners?
So, Global Partners, first of all, is a division of the Wesleyan Church headquarters in North America, which sounds weird. But basically, kind of the central office where we have education and clergy development is a division. We
Yeah.
have church multiplication and discipleship is a division. Global Partners is a division. So we're not actually some separate organization, which sometimes it sounds like that.
Mm-hmm.
We are the Wesleyan Church, and we're the office in the Wesleyan Church that supports sending missionaries around the world, and then also supporting the national church works around the world that fall
Okay.
under our general conference.
Okay. Yeah.
I joined the team at Global Partners about 10 years ago now, and my title is Director of Executive Initiatives. And what I say to people is that's basically special projects.
Okay.
I work on special projects. And so, or initiatives. And so I actually get to do a whole variety of things, which is in line with kind of my life and how I like these side hustles, or I like
Yeah.
figuring things out or solving problems. That's what I get to do with
Yeah.
Global Partners. And so I might work on a project or an initiative for a season of time, and then I'll move on to something else. Or I'll have other initiatives or things I'm working on that are just kind of ongoing.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with some of the things I've learned in the local church. As a worship pastor, so programming services, planning events, I'm always involved with those kind of things. So
Yeah.
general conference, we've had missionary summits where we bring all the missionaries together, international conference.
Okay.
I also I give leadership to an initiative called Amplified Leaders, which is to help train pastors around the world towards ordination and beyond. And so there's people pastoring a church in another country where they don't have access to ministerial training resources.
Yeah.
And they're just, they're called by God and they're being faithful in their context. And so I get to help learn about the needs. I also help raise money, and then I help problem solve to administrate the funds in order to find programs and ways for pastors to be trained.
Yeah. I
So,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah. So I remember being in seminary, and so I went to Wesley Seminary, and that program is international. And so there were a couple of times where we had students who were like multiple countries in Africa
Yep.
taking seminary master's level courses in English, and like just having conversations with some of them and just talking about how difficult it is for them to do the coursework, because they would have to read all of the things that we had to read in
Yep.
English, translate it to their native language to understand it better, and then write their responses in their native language and then translate it back to English to turn in all
Yeah.
the work, and just like the level of dedication that it took for them to like try to go. So like I know Wesley Seminary got like a Spanish program started up,
Yep.
but there's still so many different countries out there that, I mean, just getting people access to the education that they need
Yeah.
is just really powerful, but also really difficult. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing what
Yeah.
so many have done and do to be trained. I know
Yeah.
one person who was studying at Wesley through our Amplified Leaders grant, and he had to go like 45 minutes to a town where they had internet at this
Yeah.
cafe to do it to get online and do anything. And we brought a
Yeah.
computer over for him, but it's so much more extra work. Sometimes the
Yeah.
power's off there.
Yeah.
So definitely. So that's super rewarding and fun.
Yeah.
And just because it's more difficult for them, it doesn't mean they're any less capable as leaders.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like
No, not at all.
incredible people, incredible leaders.
I'd say more even,
Yeah.
because of the level of dedication and commitment it takes to get to the same place.
Yeah.
You know?
So I get to learn from these,
Yeah.
friends and I get to know them through the process. So that's like one of the things I do at Global Partners. There's a variety of other things, and I love kind of doing that. I do some video work. I'm part of our church mobilization team, which is to help engage local churches in the mission. So I love playing that utility role where I can kind of step into something and play a role and help support what's happening. And so I love helping figure things out, like I've said.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is there a story from your time in Global Partners that, like, just that experience really impacted you personally, as like stayed with you for years?
Yeah. There's a few things that come to my mind, and some of them are not just one-time occurrences, but experiences that you see over and over again in some ways. But it's taking in the way fellow believers pray in another culture.
Yeah.
I've been in a district conference in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and they just would pause regularly and say, all right, let's just pray. And everyone full voice praying out loud, sincerely, just the room, kind of this huge roar of prayer. And it's like those experiences stick with me.
Yeah.
Not that there's one certain way that's better than another, but to just be in an environment where everyone's so engaged is really moving.
Yeah.
Another moment that I go back to wasn't this big, huge moment that maybe anyone else would have noticed, but I was at a missionary summit where we had leaders together, and I often get the privilege to lead worship during those times. And I remember leading, I had my acoustic guitar, I'm plugged into some like intercom system thing, and I'm leading, and the screen's on the other side of the room, so they're looking at the screen, I'm looking at the screen for the words, but I'm leading.
Yeah.
And I just remember seeing one of our missionaries who's serving in a hard country. I can't even say the name of the country for security purposes. And I'm just leading. It's like nothing special that I'm doing, but I just see her tears streaming down her face, and I just know, in her context, she doesn't get to go to a local church and worship every Sunday like we get to.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing. Favorite group to lead worship with is our missionaries, because they're so desperate for God and they're so sincere, and that's not a knock on our local churches. I love leading worship with local church, but sometimes when we have access, that's just so we can worship anytime we want. We can come together. We have all the worship music in the world. We have styles, and we can get kind of caught up in all these things that aren't really the thing.
Yeah.
But just to be in a group where they purely want to worship the Lord and they sing at the top of their lungs and they're not looking for me. I just get them started, and then they lead me in worship is how I kind of view it.
Yeah.
That moment, it's just really stuck with me, seeing her just with tears streaming down her face singing a simple worship song. It didn't matter what song it was,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.